what I thought was that would be helpful is doing a little bit of a primer on our nervous system so that we can use that not just now, but even something to come back to and maybe as a tool to see where we might be, with our nervous system from time to time. And I see it almost like a temperature gauge, but what I'm using are these blocks because I love demos and I love using tactile things. So I'm using these blocks to sort of signal to ourselves that, okay, this is my nervous system when it's in a state of social engagement, relaxation, could be playfulness, what we would call ventral vagal from polyvagal theory. And so we can look at it in several ways. This is green. We can also look at it in terms of a rating. So I have 5 blocks here. I mean, where am I in that between 1 and 5? Because that also will tell me in terms of how much bandwidth do I have for things to come in and for things that I can hold space for. So for instance, if I'm at a 1, then I know I have a little bit of ventral there. I'm a little bit in social engagement, but maybe that's, I need to see if I have more of this before something else enters. I make room for something else. And that's true of conversations here, but it's also true of what's happening in your life outside, right? Like what is it that I'm able to take on? So let's use this as sort of green social engagement. I have lots of capacity. And then there's yellow. Now I'm getting away from the green and I'm going to move into red after that. So this is sort of our in-between state. And again, using the 5 points of that as a scale. And we can get really granular because we talk about somatics here. And so this is a skill that we can develop in terms of, well, when this and this is together, what happens? Where there's like a little bit more teal happening in between. And if I'm here and sympathetic is going to be red, now not all of sympathetic is bad. So red doesn't necessarily denote that it's bad because I need red sympathetic energy for work, for workouts, for all of those things. I need some of this even for play, which is actually part of ventral and this. So where am I with that? And now am I getting into the orangey red? What does that feel like for me in my body? So I'm offering this as a tool for you to get familiar with your body. And then I'm also introducing the blue, which is beyond the red. Now, I told you red is not entirely bad, but blue is where we're going to get into collapse, shutdown, freezy business. So we want to avoid this. And so if I'm at red, then I know that in my nervous system, I'm sort of highly charged, highly energized. I've got to do this, whatever it is that I'm going through. And my system is going to do that for me. So if I'm at work and I have deadlines and I'm doing stuff like that, or if there's a healthcare issue I'm taking care of, I'm going to focus on that. But because it's red, I also know that from here, I have to go down the ladder so that I don't get outside my window of tolerance to get here. Right? So I wanted to offer this as a model so that you can work with and really start creating a map for yourself in terms of how your system works. And what might feel like green, what might green feel like in your body, what might yellow feel like, what might red feel like, what might blue feel like. And it's different for everyone. And so aside from that 5-point scale of how high am I in this one area, you can also look at that in terms of I talked about the in-between states of that, but you can also look at where in my body may I have more of this, and where in my body may I have this, and where in my body may I have the other. So there's many, many different ways to play with this. Because ultimately what we're trying to get to is like embodied self-inquiry, which is a model that I've taught, and most of you know that we are now embodied, asking us these self-inquiry, self-reflection questions, like even the ones I offer here, from a place of how is that experience in my body? And just so you know, when we have had childhood trauma, we go from here, to here very quickly. There is no yellow, there's no chartreuse, there's no orangey. We go from here to here. That's where the black and white thing comes. This is happening, I'm reacting. Again, not something to feel judgy about, just something to know. And I say this because I lived in that. I was either okay or I was not okay. And by the time I was not okay, I was really not okay. And there was no way for me to really track my system to know, oh, wow, I'm beginning to feel a little irritated, or I'm annoyed, which is what I can do now. Like that comes to me in the yellow zone is like, okay, I'm a little annoyed. What could that be about? Because now if I can figure out that I'm annoyed, then I can figure out what's causing the annoyance. And if I can't figure out, then maybe it's something from the past that's showing up here now. And so I have to then create space to move out of that. Or if I need to have more energy to move into something, that I have to stand in my power for, then I need to amp up to the red. That's fine. Annoyance is a good thing. Like it's telling me that something more needs to happen. So